I know how this sounds. Faking your own death is extreme, possibly illegal, and definitely messed up. But after years of being treated like I didn't exist, I wanted my family to feel what it was like when I actually didn't. Let me explain. I'm the middle child of 5 siblings. Growing up, I was never the favorite, not the oldest who blazed trails, not the youngest who got doted on. I was just there. I accepted it as normal, even when I'd achieved something and my parents would hardly notice. Things got worse after I moved away for college. I'd call home weekly, but conversations were brief. "Oh, we're busy with Mia's soccer tournament," or "can't talk. We're celebrating Josh's promotion." I'd find out about family vacations through Facebook photos. Birthdays would pass with maybe a last-minute text. I tried harder. I'd send thoughtful gifts, plan visits, suggest video calls. The response was always lukewarm. I'd arrive home to find they'd scheduled something else during my visit. Once I drove 6 hours to surprise them for Christmas, only to discover they'd left for a cruise without telling me. The breaking point came last year. My father had a minor heart scare. I found out 3 weeks later when my sister casually mentioned it in a text. When I called home panicking, my mother said, "We didn't want to bother you. You're always so busy." I wasn't busy. I was just unimportant to them. That night, lying in bed, I had what I now recognize was a pretty dark thought. Would they even notice if I died? Would they care? Or would they just say, "Oh, by the way, Daniel passed away last month," to the next distant relative they happened to speak to? A twisted plan formed in my mind. My roommate Kyle works in local journalism and has connections at several online publications. I asked if he could help me place an obituary. He thought I was joking at first, but when I explained everything, he reluctantly agreed. We kept it simple. Daniel Richards, 28, passed away unexpectedly at his home on Saturday. Private memorial service to be held. We published it in the online edition of a newspaper in a neighboring town, not where my family would normally look, but somewhere they might find if they ever Googled my name. Then I deactivated my social media, changed my phone number, and waited. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. No frantic calls to my old number. No concerned relatives reaching out to mutual friends. The silence confirmed everything I'd feared. Then my aunt, who actually does care about me, saw the obituary while researching her family tree. She called my parents hysterical. Suddenly my phone was flooded with messages from family members trying to reach my old number. My email inbox filled up. People I hadn't heard from in years were posting heartfelt tributes on my deactivated Facebook page. My mother called my landlord in tears. My father apparently took time off work for the first time in a decade. My siblings were beside themselves with grief. Kyle kept me updated on all of it, and I admit, part of me was satisfied. Finally, they noticed me. Finally, they cared. But another part felt sick about what I was doing. Still, I decided to see it through. Kyle helped arrange a small memorial service at a local community center. He told my family it was being organized by my friends from work. The day of the service, I watched from my car as my family arrived. They were dressed in black, visibly distraught. My mother could barely walk without support. My father, who I'd never seen cry, looked broken. My siblings clung to each other. I almost backed out then, but something in me needed to finish this, to make them face what they'd done. I waited until everyone was seated, and Kyle had said a few words. Then I walked in. The room went completely silent. My mother fainted. My father froze mid-sob. My oldest brother lunged at me, but was held back by my sisters, who were screaming in confusion. "I'm not dead," I said calmly. "But you've all treated me like I was for years. Now you know how it feels." I didn't stay long after that. The shouting started almost immediately. How could I be so cruel, so manipulative? What kind of monster fakes their own death? My father said I wasn't his son anymore. My siblings called me psychotic. Only my mother, after recovering from the shock, asked quietly, "Why did you do this to us?" I told her the truth, that I'd been trying to connect with them for years, that they'd excluded me, forgotten me, treated me like an afterthought, that I'd reached out hundreds of times only to be ignored or dismissed. "So this was revenge?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "No," I said. "This was me showing you what it feels like to lose someone you didn't appreciate while they were here. It's been 3 months since then. Half my family won't speak to me. The others have been reaching out constantly, too constantly, almost like they're overcompensating. My youngest sister admitted they'd never realized how they'd been treating me. My father still says what I did was unforgivable. Maybe it was. I'm not proud of it. I understand the pain I caused, and sometimes I wake up hating myself for going through with such an extreme plan. But I also can't deny that something has fundamentally changed. For the first time in my adult life, I feel visible to my family. So now I'm asking AITA for faking my own death to make my family realize they'd been ignoring me for years? Update. It's been 6 months since my original post, and I wanted to thank everyone for their perspective. Reading your comments helped me see that while my pain was valid, my method was deeply flawed. I've been in therapy, both individually and with those family members willing to participate. It hasn't been easy. Some relationships might never recover fully, but others have grown stronger through painful honesty. My mother and I have had several long conversations about why I felt so excluded. She admitted they'd fallen into patterns of favoritism without realizing it. My youngest sister and I have become closer than we've ever been. My father still struggles with what I did, but last week he asked me to lunch, just the two of us. He didn't say much, but before leaving he told me, "I'm sorry we made you feel like you had to disappear to be seen." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement. For those concerned about legal issues, yes, there were some. I had to make formal retractions of the obituary and write letters explaining the situation to several institutions. I'm lucky no financial or legal systems were severely impacted by my fake death. I know what I did was extreme and hurtful. I'm not encouraging anyone to follow my example. If you're feeling invisible in your family, please try counseling, direct conversation, or even temporary distance before doing something drastic. Sometimes it takes a shock to break unhealthy family dynamics,